Week 6 is in the books, so that means it's time to hit the waiver wire to find players that could add value to the back end of your rosters. And quick note, I'm going to be referencing rostership percentages in this video, and those are coming from roster data from 1,700 Dynasty leagues on MFL, basically a 50-50 split of one quarterback in Superflex leagues, all with a minimum of 20-man rosters. So I'm not pulling these players out of nowhere, but it is possible that some or maybe even all of these guys are already rostered in your Dynasty leagues, perhaps even by you, but for the most part, there are hundreds of leagues out there right now where these guys are available on waivers. First and foremost, I want to highlight a couple players that are highly rostered right now, but not exactly 100% rostered that I think should be, and that includes Taylor Heineke, Jalen Warren, Mark Ingram, Mike Boone, Chuba Hubbard, and Deonta Foreman, Tyquan Thornton, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Daniel Bellinger. Again, all guys that are rostered in over 90% of leagues, but not exactly 100%. So double check your waiver wire, because if these guys are available, then you should pick them up right now. All right, let's get started. Here are 4 players that you need to add from your Dynasty waiver wires this week, and then some additional deeper players that could be worth stashing in deep leagues if you have the roster space. And first up, another reiteration from last week, or perhaps even the last 2 weeks at this point, but guys, why is Bailey Zappe still rostered in only 84% of Superflex leagues? I mean, that's only a 2% bump from last week. If his solid performance against the Detroit Lions didn't do it for you, how about his great performance this week against the Cleveland Browns? I mean, since taking over for Mac Jones, Zappe is averaging a 72% completion percentage, over 9 yards per reception, and over 8.5 yards per attempt, and has yet to have a game below a 100 quarterback rating. He's honestly looked fantastic and has shown very early on that he can play at an NFL level. Now, I don't believe that there's a quarterback controversy in New England just yet, but I do think that Zappe has at least piqued the interest of Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization to know that they have a great second option if Mac Jones were to get hurt again, or if he were to struggle, maybe they decide to go with the 2022 rookie instead of their first-round pick last year. And in Superflex leagues, this really can't be ignored, as I think Zappe has joined the likes of guys like Tyler Huntley, like Andy Dalton, maybe even Jordan Love at this point, in terms of competent backup quarterbacks that we can trust more than a lot of others out there if their starter were to go down as just a spot start in your Superflex leagues if you were to need them. Next up, a couple of names on the same team in terms of just backup running backs to roster in case the starter were to get hurt, and that's Deejay Dallas and Travis Homer. And I mean, just from his short time as the starter, Kenneth Walker has already looked legit, and neither player is honestly going to cut into his workload enough to be fantasy relevant, if really at all. But should Kenneth Walker get hurt, Dallas and Travis Homer would see a value spike for that time that he's out. I mean, I view this pretty similarly to the Indianapolis Colts situation, or at least how I think it would have worked out if Nyheim Hines hadn't gotten hurt, where it would basically be a split between the two of them, where Homer is more of the pass-catching Nyheim Hines kind of role, and Dallas is the 2-down role like I saw for Deion Jackson. If I had to pick between the two, I would prefer Deejay Dallas, as I think he would project to see more volume with Kenneth Walker out than Travis Homer, and has at least had a little bit of history as a starter in Seattle, including a week where he was a starter in Week 8, 2020, with 23 touches for 58 yards and 2 touchdowns as a spot starter for both Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. Homer's been in Seattle since 2019, actually a year longer than Deejay Dallas, but has a career high of 10 carries in just one random Week 17 game. He's also currently on the injured reserve right now for at least another week, so there is that too. So if you have room for both of them, pick up both of them, but if you only have room for one guy and Deejay Dallas is still available, then he's the guy to pick up. And then finally, I should have known that the 2022 NFL season would have me talking about Malcolm Brown as a waiver wire ad, and here we are. It's gross, I know, I get it, but with Cam Akers doing whatever the heck Cam Akers is doing and they're potentially trading him, that really only leaves Darrell Henderson as the main guy in LA. And should Henderson get hurt, I think Malcolm Brown would be the next man up in line, and any running back who could potentially see up to 15 plus touches a game needs to be rostered in today's economy, even if that running back is Malcolm Brown. So if you have guys like Mike Davis or Snoop Connor, you've been holding on to like Julius Chestnut or Ty Chandler, drop one of those guys and just pick up Malcolm Brown just to see what happens. All right, I know this week was really rough in terms of football and waiver wire digging. Those names weren't all that exhilarating for you. So to help add some more value for this video, I compiled a list of low roster players, under 50% rostered players that could be worth a stash if you have an empty roster spot in super deep leagues like 25 plus man, 30 plus man rosters, if these guys are available and you have extra room, it might be worth stashing them. So here's 6 quick guys really quick that I think could be fitting this bill. And number 1 is Craig Reynolds, running back for the Detroit Lions. Actually kind of a small cheat here. He's available in 54% of leagues, but I just wanted to note him as a team RB3 who has shown to be a solid spot start if players above him were to get hurt. I mean, DeAndre Swift is already hurt, and Jamal Williams hasn't shown to be an Iron Man at all himself either. So if Craig Reynolds is out there, he could be worth a stash as like your 25th or your 30th guy for just that 1 week that he could potentially be the main guy for the Detroit Lions. Second on the list is Kevin Harris, running back for the New England Patriots, as I view him as the primary backup right now to Ramondre Stevenson for as long as Damian Harris is out. So similar to DeeJay Dallas, if Stevenson were to go down, I expect Kevin Harris to be the lead guy. Pierre Strong would mix in there for sure as well. But of the 2 guys, I would be placing my bet on Kevin Harris. Third on the list is Zach Pascal, and I actually talked about Pascal in a previous video this year, mentioning that he just basically seems like the clear-cut wide receiver 3 on the Eagles. And if something were to happen to AJ Brown or Devontae Smith and they were to miss time, then Pascal could see an increased role and be valuable for you as a spot starter in your flex spot if you needed to with bye weeks or injuries or whatnot. Fourth on the list is Shi Smith, wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. And actually, just a couple hours ago from recording this, the Panthers have traded away Robbie Anderson to the Arizona Cardinals after all those like heated exchanges and arguments during the game. They actually dismissed Robbie Anderson from the game this past week, and not even 24 hours later, he's already been traded away. That's how much they really just didn't like him being on the team. So now with Robbie Anderson gone, the Panthers wide receiver core is DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, and Shi Smith. And Shi Smith and Terrace Marshall were the only other wide receivers to get a target in this past game other than DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. So those are the 2 guys that benefit the most. Marshall is obviously rostered in way more dynasty leagues out there. If he's available, pick him up for sure. But if Shi Smith is available, which he is in a large amount of leagues out there, and you have extra roster room for him, maybe something works out. Maybe Sam Darnold likes him a little bit more than Terrace Marshall. Maybe he sees more routes, more snaps, more whatever. I don't know. Could be worth a shot. Pick him up if he's available and you have a spot. Fifth on the list is JaMycal Hasty, just basically a cheaper version of Craig Reynolds, or at least a much more widely available version of Craig Reynolds as a team RB3 that if something were to happen to both James Robinson and Travis Etienne kind of simultaneously and Hasty found himself as the RB1 for a week, could be worth having for just that 1 week. And then lastly, we're going super deep here. I mean, like we're talking available in 99.9% of dynasty leagues right now, and that's Gary Brightwell, running back for the New York Giants. I mean, you're basically looking at potentially like the next Deion Jackson. If you look at the New York Giants depth chart at running back, it's Saquon Barkley, Matt Breida, and Gary Brightwell. So I don't know if that would end up happening, or if you just want to have a little bit of fun and say that you rostered Gary Brightwell. If that were to actually happen, then go for it. You have an extra spot. Gary Brightwell available in basically every single league out there right now. And if you're looking for some more moves to make after week 6 in Dynasty or Redraft, I highly recommend checking out Justin's video right up here.